بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
How did the West win the world? That's a question I want to address here. And a guy called Samuel Huntington gave an answer to this. Now, he was an American political scientist and a staunch pro-Western ideologue. He's best known for formulating the clash of civilizations theory with regard to the post-Cold War world. And he's, as I say, an American, hugely influential in American political circles, at levels of government as well. And he addressed this question, how did the West come to dominate and win the world, as he put it? And I'm going to quote from his hugely influential and widely read book called The Clash of Civilizations and the Remaking of World Order. And just a couple of sentences from that, and he addresses this question. He says, and I quote, "The West won the world not by the superiority of its ideas or values or religion, to which few members of other civilizations were converted, but rather by its superiority in applying organized violence. Westerners often forget this fact. Non-Westerners never do." End quote. That's page 51 of The Clash of Civilizations. And I think that's a very interesting insight and explains why you get this kind of big difference between, say, how most Muslims view the West, and they don't tend to view it as a benign, peaceful force in the world, and how most Westerners view the Muslim world, which can often be quite negative too. Muslims perceive that the West has often invaded them, they've colonialized it, they're forcing their economics and their ideology on the Muslim world, and that is not by force of persuasion, but by other means. And the West, of course, as Huntington said, is often forgetting this fact. So, for example, when was the last time a Muslim country invaded England? Well, hint, hint, the answer is never. When was the last time England invaded a Muslim country? Well, you know, you can just quite recently, a number of countries, be it Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya, etc., etc. So there's one way asymmetry of power here. And this is usually military power. So I think Huntington, I think many people would agree that Huntington is onto something when he says the West won the world not by the superiority of its ideas or values or religion, but rather by its superiority in applying organized violence. Westerners often forget this fact, he says, and this is true. We tend not to be aware of this in the West. We think of ourselves as the good guys. But non-Westerners, who are obviously on the receiving end of this organized violence, never forget that. And I think this explains a fundamental difference in worldview you get between the Muslim world and the Western world. Of course, not just Muslims who are on the receiving end of this neocolonialism, economic imperialism, or military action. Other countries are as well. So how did the West win the world? By organized violence, according to Samuel Huntington, who's perhaps one of the top Western political advisors and historians and political scientists of the 20th century, or even the early 21st century, because he only died just a few years ago. Anyway, just wanted to share that with you.